So you dropping your music through DistroKid to get onto Spotify, Apple Music, etc. And you trying to figure out how on earth does DistroKid work with SAMRO, CAPASSO, SAMPRA, and RiSA. So in this video, I'm going to demystify that. Shout out to Takey for giving me the idea to run this video. So what is DistroKid? DistroKid is a digital aggregator or a digital distributor. They take your music and get it onto platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, etc. so that other people can listen to your music. Their main job is to distribute your music. You have pay a fee and it gets your music onto there. I'll leave a link in the description and an affiliate key if you don't have or use DistroKid yet. DistroKid pays you royalties from the use of your music and give it directly to you. So they give you digital royalties. Now, how does that link with SAMRO, CAPASSO, RiSA, and SAMPRA? First of all, what are these companies? These companies are collective management organizations, so CMOs, and they have different aspects to help you manage your rights, and they collect your royalties from different users of your rights. Let's focus on SAMRO. SAMRO collects performance royalties. So when your music is played on radio, TV, or even digital distribution. CAPASSO collects mechanical royalties. So whenever your song is reproduced on platforms such as Spotify, or if it's used on TV for sync, for example, CAPASSO collects mechanical royalties. And then what is SAMPRA? SAMPRA collects needle time royalties through neighboring rights, and they typically pay those royalties to musicians. So there's a different type of royalty that each of these organizations collect. RiSA is a different story because they give you your ISRC code, which is your ID number for your songs in basic terms, but they also administer certifications. So if you go make platinum, gold, etc., or they also focus on the charts within the South African context, so the charting system. So RiSA gives your ISRC. That's the most important thing as an independent musician to focus on. Now, how do these work with DistroKid? SAMRO does not directly work with DistroKid. It doesn't at all. But if your music is paid on Spotify or Apple Music, etc., Apple Music gives some of the royalties to DistroKid, and then some of the royalties also go to SAMRO directly. So there's two royalties being generated when your song is played on Spotify or Apple Music, for example. Similarly with CAPASSO. CAPASSO does not work directly with DistroKid, but it is worth noting that if your music is played on Spotify, for example, a mechanical royalty is also generated. So some of the money goes directly to you as a musician through DistroKid, some of the money goes through SAMRO, some of that money goes through CAPASSO for mechanical royalties. So from one stream, for example, up to three royalties, at least three royalties rather, are generated from that stream. The money goes to DistroKid, the money goes to SAMRO, the money goes to CAPASSO. Similarly with SAMPRA. SAMPRA also collects on the recording side of things, so it also generates a different royalty that SAMPRA collects. So it also doesn't directly link with DistroKid, but since you put your music onto platforms and your sound recording is being used, there's a royalty that is generated. As of now, those royalties are not currently in negotiations, but that will most likely change in the future. But it's worth noting that DistroKid doesn't directly work with the CMOs, particularly SAMRO, CAPASSO, and SAMPRA. Now, RiSA, technically there's a way that it does work with DistroKid, but that is primarily through the ISRC code. So the ISRC code, as I mentioned before, is like an ID number for your song. So this ID number, you can get it through RiSA and then use that number on DistroKid to identify that song. DistroKid takes that song as part of something called the metadata, and that metadata is linked to the song. That song goes up onto Spotify or Apple Music, for example. But if you don't have your ISRC codes through RiSA, DistroKid does generate its own ISRC codes for you to use and them to use to identify that song. So now how does it work if you've gotten a DistroKid ISRC first and then you finally get your ISRC codes? You just have to focus on the ISRC that was first assigned to the song. So DistroKid gave an ISRC code to this song, so just use the DistroKid number. And then from now on, for the rest of the songs that you make, you can use your independent one that you got from RiSA. So out of all these 4 organizations that I mentioned, RiSA is the only one that actually somewhat links, indirectly links with DistroKid, and the other 3 don't directly talk to DistroKid. It's just the money flows. You have to get your music onto these platforms, and typically it flows through DistroKid to Spotify, but Spotify gives some royalties directly to those other CMOs. You want to register with all of them, of course, if you want to get those royalties to you, but that's more or less how it works. If you have any other questions or any other videos you'd like me to cover, feel free to leave it in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Until next time.